Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to get into some frequently asked questions from the community, which means I'm going through my comment section on my YouTube channel. If you have questions or comments that you want me to address, drop them on any video with your IGN, and if I read it, I'll give you a thank you afterwards. Before we get into the video, gotta promo the new gear. If you want to support the channel, if you like what I'm doing here, check out the store on my YouTube channel. You can see that we're doing merch now. It's all time and attention gear, which is both one of my sayings, but also the name of our guild. All the value comes to either Teespring for they produce, they ship, they store, they worldwide delivery, but I get a cut because it's my creation. And so, guys, it's one way to support the channel. If you're interested, go check it out. Thanks in advance. Now let's go over to the comment section. Okay, so Rakid's got a text wall here. Rakid's been one that supported the channel for a long time, constantly dropped comments and thoughtful and provoking at every single time. So I appreciate you, Rakid. This one's a frustration around the Sps governance, and it's on today's video about salt mines. The Sps governance sucks, wherein we address kind of the similar topic, but it's so this concern is so prevalent. It deserves continued, I guess, attention until such time that we feel we've processed the topic. And I think we are a community of people. You guys on my channel who follow me are a community of people with me that we are thinking through these things together. And I will say up front, I admit there's questions or concerns around how the SPS governance will, I guess, carry forward. On the one hand, you've got this model of governance where like a CEO runs the show and you trust the CEO and you see their vision and you believe in their genius and you think it's going to do well. Think of things like Apple or Microsoft or, even Tesla. Like the people in front of those companies have a vision and you get behind it. And so you believe you can trust the trajectory of where they're going because of the person at the helm. But with this and this idea of decentralized governance, we don't have that at all. In fact, we actually have the antithesis of that, where the multitudes of people involved can actually speak into that. In fact, not just a multitude of people, but actually nameless, almost like formless entities or individuals can stand in front leading a charge, leading a call to action, which isn't necessarily something you can get behind, right? You don't have an Elon Musk to look at and say he knows where we're going. Or even in the context of Splinterlands, you can't point to Aggroed or Matt and say, I trust what he is doing and I support this game. With this new governance model, we absolutely have a thing where the question is, can we screw it up? We, the players with governance, decentralized governance, can we screw it up? I think the truth is we could. And so that's why the nuance of this conversation is so important, because people are concerned that we will. And Al Rakid, I've read some of this comment just now before I started speaking, and I can see where the tone of where he's going with it. Honestly, Al Rakid, I don't think I can read that whole thing, man. That's 1,000 words, dude. You need to pare that down. I appreciate everything you do. That's too much. So I'm going to try and grab some key points, because man, if we went through this thing line by line, word for word, we'd be here for 2 hours. But I think I can see the tone of where you're headed, right? You say the proposals do seem to be going in the wrong way. That's a really clear thesis statement. And I don't agree, but I can totally sympathize with that concern, because that could become the case. Even for me, who disagrees with you now. What is the limit with these proposals? When players get to make proposals, how will that work? Great question, man. Great question. And what stops whales from continuing to suggest and vote for proposals that funnel more money to them? That's a key question, and I almost just want to focus there, because I think that's the core of the concern around this question. That whales being self-serving will necessarily just tip the table in their favor with no cause or care for new players or even newer players who are kind of established. That's at the core of the core, the concern raised by not just Al Rakid, but by seemingly everyone. It's said in a million different ways, but the crux of the argument is the whales are self-serving. They will tip the table using their weighted vote in solely their favor. And I just strongly disagree with that point. And I think there's something actually deeply ideological about that point. And I want you guys to think about real world governance between free market capitalism and between a controlled economy. And if you look at it from the perspective of the game and you say to yourself, one, you could be a controlled economy where an Elon Musk or a Bezos or a Zuckerberg run the show, call the shots, point the direction, decide what proposals happen, decide what development happens, decide where funding goes. And that is a controlled economy. That's a person running all of it. The money coming in is handled by them and directed by them as they see fit. And that can be great if you trust that person and their vision. Can be great. But the thing about blockchain gaming and the revolution it represents is that we no longer have to actually trust, John Doe, Elon Musk. Like you can trust in our governance. And maybe you're right. Maybe you're pointing to a truth, and I'm not certain. It's been too early. But I think I can't say to you that Splinterlands decentralized governance will be a perfect process, will work perfectly, will be totally secure and safe in every aspect. I can't. But I can point to fundamental considerations that I think will justify a conclusion of we should trust the process. And I think that analogy of controlled economy versus free market economy, there is constantly, from usually left-leaning politically ideological individuals, there's usually a comment on modern day economy and economics that says people, there's billionaires don't need so much money. And they say there's rich people who will, famous politicians from America will wear shirts that say "Eat the Rich," and it's like this sentiment of Bezos shouldn't be allowed to have so much, or Tesla shouldn't be allowed to be so wealthy, or control so many. All of that comes from a place of, but we want to control it, and we want to say Elon or Jeff Bezos shouldn't be able to have X, Y, or Z, and the same energy is at work when we point towards the whales of Splinterlands and we say they shouldn't have so much power. Why not? They were here first. They supported the game before you. They invested in a big way when there was way greater risk. Why shouldn't they have more say, more sway, more impact than you who just got here? Not speaking directly to El Racked, he's been here for a while, but speaking to somebody who just got here. That is a core question, and I think we sidestep it with kind of general talk about how the whales are evil, self-serving. We don't say the word evil. We use the words. We would imply that they're self-serving and that they're gonna, like he said here, they're gonna. Why wouldn't they just continue, quote unquote, continue to suggest and vote for proposals that funnel more money to them? I don't know that we have even been doing that yet, let alone. Quote unquote continue, right? Like continue means we've already been doing it and we're going to keep doing it. I don't think that's true. But even if there's a preconception here that there's almost malice and the self-serving nature of the free market, because that's what's happening here. Splinterlands has been a free market. Those who wanted to buy in could buy in. Those who bought a ton of value in it have a larger vote. And therefore, the free market has led to a place where certain individuals who were visionaries, by the way, who saw the value of this thing before you did, got involved in a bigger way before you did, now have a greater vote. Why shouldn't visionaries have the opportunity to speak that hopefully wisdom, right? They have wisdom and discernment because they saw something before others saw it. Doesn't that mean that their interpretations, their assessments, their analysis should be respected in a disproportionate way than compared to somebody who just got here and is playing in bronze? I think necessarily they should. The sense that that there should be a controlled economy of this game, meaning that the rewards, the payouts, because the proposals have impacted rewards. They've affected the payouts at the lower leagues of the levels. They've affected the Rift Watcher redistribution of the voucher consideration retroactively. These are rewards that are in game that are being determined by the SPS governance. And the question is, has that been fair or unfair? Well, again, yeah, it boils down to not whether you always have a governance model. The question is who should be at that helm. Whether it's the game and Matt or Aggroed saying we are going to distribute Rift Watcher packs in this manner, we are going to distribute rank rewards in this manner, or whether it's literally a governance thing where the community speaks and whales of course vote into that. I see no difference. People are going to complain with every single decision regardless of who's calling the shots. And it is all the better if a decentralized mind of individuals are speaking into every proposal. And it is absolutely the case that whales will have a disproportionate vote on these matters. But I also think that's a good thing. People speak of it as if it's a bad thing. The free market got us to a place where that was the situation. And I just trust that now the free market is going to continue to reign. And when we talk about self-interest and how they're going to tip the table in their own favor because they just want all the money, that's really foolish and short-sighted, because tipping the table to a game you're winning at ruins the game. If I'm winning Monopoly and I tip the board over, I've now, whether or not I was winning is irrelevant. The game's over. I've ruined it. So this sense that they're going to just propose and vote for proposals that funnel more money to them is both true and inaccurate. True in the sense that, of course, when a proposal comes their way that they consider thoughtfully and impacts them positively, yes, they're going to support that. That's necessarily the case, and so will you. But the idea that they're going to, I guess, carelessly do that without thought or concern, with malice or, with blind self-interest at heart, I think is not true. Because like Jordan Peterson says, the question isn't just, is the choice in front of you good for you today? The question is whether it's good for you today, tomorrow, in 5 years, and 10 years. Because those future iterations of who you are part of your daily consideration for what you do next. If you want to be healthy and strong in 10 years, you need to make dietary choices that are going to be positive today. If you want to be, a great reader in 5 years, you need to make great choices, practicing your reading daily now. It's not going to just turn on in 10 years. And in the same way, the whales of the game, which want to benefit themselves, you're so true, it's so right. Of course they want to benefit themselves. They have to focus on their own self-interest. You're right, but not to the perfect exclusion of every other player. You talked about how why would they ever propose benefits for lower leagues? There's one self-interested way and reason why they would, and we have to land it here because again, there's just too much here, Al Rakid. There's absolutely one obvious and self-interested reason why a whale would benefit lower league decisions, why they would propose or vote for a benefit to lower leagues. Because they want to see the economy grow. They want to see new players join the game. They want to see the game Splinterlands thrive. And that would then benefit them, the whale, because more community, more growth, more purchase power, more attraction and attention to our amazing game. So it's just flat out wrong that there is zero reason that there's a you're suggesting that there's a 100% disconnect between what a whale's concern is and what a lower league player's concern is, and you're wrong. You're flat out wrong. And we'll land here. Because a whale has a concern to better themselves, a self-interested concern to better themselves and their investment and their position. And so does a lower league player. And each of them has a certain amount of vote. And if you're going to give anyone a vote at any time, you have to make a decision based on something. And I think the way we've done it with the holding of SPS is an important way, because it reflects a wisdom and a discernment over what that token was going to be. And so the commitment to the economy by buying that token over the last year or saving it when you earned it through airdrop is indicative of your commitment to this economy and to this game. Whereas choices by some to sell that token over the last year, which I know a ton of you did, was a huge mistake. And now you're seeing that mistake, and there's some bitterness around that. And I'm not saying Al Rakid's bitter. I'm just saying that there are people out there that are definitely bitter. I see it in the comments. There'll probably be some today. They'll get some thumbs down because Dwayne doesn't agree, and Dwayne's a whale, and and he just hates the lower players. Of course, yeah, that makes zero sense, because they are part of the game that I want to see thrive. And that's the connection that you all have to recognize, because we are part of the same economy, and new players can be whales one day. And so new players should want whales to have proper support, recognition, acknowledgement, opportunity. And whales should want new players to exist, thrive, have opportunity also, because that's part of the same economy. And so I just have to fully disagree, without, of course, not fully taking out all the nuance of your comment, because it's just too much, my dude. I can see you're passionate about this. I thank you for that comment, but this is just too much. I can't possibly go into all of that. Suffice it to say, there is far more connection between whales and minnows than most people suggest. And that connection is our self-serving nature. And that, in a free market economy, should translate to positive decisions, positive growth, and a great trajectory. It's possible that things fall off the rails, but I don't know any other governance structure, such as there are other governance structures, like we said, controlled economy, which is more of it would be, in this analogy, would be Agrod saying, this is how it is, this is how it is. And that can be great. But that's not blockchain. That's not Splinterlands, and it never was supposed to be. That is never the vision. This SPS decentralized governance has always been the vision. And so understand that now. Make choices to build your investment in that, so that you can have a weighted stake in that conversation and that vote, or just ride the waves as they come to you, because that's a fair choice. You might say to yourself, I'm not going to buy that stuff. I don't want to hold that. Fine. Do you still like the game? Do you still think it has a future, or is the future now dead because of this governance? If so, I guess you have to leave. And this is a truth conversation you need to wrestle with for yourself, and everyone needs to have that conversation. These talks about there's a lot of complaints or concerns, but I don't see necessarily, and I don't see people saying, I have this huge problem and therefore I'm selling on my cards. What I actually see is, this is a huge problem. We need to fix it. But I'm still happy to be here. And that's the thing. You're still happy to be here because you're still getting rewards, because you still recognize that the direction is, generally speaking, in a successful trajectory. And of course, we'll have bumps and bruises. We'll fall off the road occasionally, but we'll correct when we can. And maybe we could go too far. We've got to be discerning about that. But the self-interest of the best, the highest investors, is the self-interest of the lowest investors. They are intertwined. And no whale will cut the throat of the game for their own benefit. That would be to topple the table of the game, which they're winning at. And I just flatly don't believe that'll happen. But it's so important to stay vigilant about this conversation. And so I want to say thank you to Rakid for this comment, as well as every other comment he always drops. And guys, I just thank you so much for your time and attention. Have an amazing day. God bless.